Just sit right by and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic port aboard this tiny ship.
Yeah, Captain Bob, he who warned the British that we were coming to, they weren't be taking our boat dock away from us, and he crashed in the midnight ride into the sandbar, and there was lots of screaming and desperation involved with being rescued by some anonymous people in a little smaller dinghy boat sort of thing. Yeah, that's what happened.
Captain Bob's story all started because Joyce wanted to do some special event.
And Joyce, being Joyce, says to him, well, you know, we're staying up at Lily's Landing, and it would really be nice if you could bring your boat up to Lily's Landing and pick us up and bring us back to Lily's Landing. And that way none of us would be driving after having some drinks and so on. It'd be a lot safer for us, and that would really be nice. And Captain Bob says, oh, sure, we can do that. Although, I can't remember being in that part of the lake with my boat, but I'm sure it'll be okay.
Which sounded like a really good idea at the time, and the ride there was fine, but as friars do, we stayed a little too long at the ball.
The evening dancing and the food on the big boat was a very fun evening.
Frank takes the stage right away, as I recall.
My dad singing with the band, Elvira.
I was one of the first kids that got to drive the actual ferry itself, the whole big steering wheel.
Mm-hmm. By the time we got on the boat to come back down, it was dark and it was foggy and it was tough going.
Lake Taneycomo is very, very cold water, and it's very hot around here. So late at night, steam, the steam comes up off the cold water and creates fog. So we were coming back in this really heavy fog, really late at night. It must have been about midnight.
And I knew before we left that we could be in trouble. And I should have said something. I should have said, hey, maybe there's another way we can go back, but I didn't say anything, and it was really just a comedy of errors.
Well, I think the biggest secret that I don't know to this day was who thought it was a good idea to get a boat that size down to Lily's Landing.
But the boat ride was a descent into madness that night, 12 years ago.
And we were riding along in the boat, and all of a sudden, kabam! The damn thing stops dead.
And as soon as that happened, Grandpa, of course, who was, I can't remember, in his 90s at the time, went flying and hit the deck of the boat. So, you know, Joyce says, oh my God, you know, is he all right? And we're all worried about him.
We all kind of went, and all the adults were the ones who were like, well, what happened? What's going on?
At that very moment, Captain Bob, being the captain, began shouting, get on your life jackets, get the life jackets on. We've run aground.
And of course the kids are not really noticing what's wrong, but when those life jackets came out, we were all kind of, you know, let's get in serious mode here.
And at that point, we had a lot of little kids, I think, because if I was 4, then, you know, from Vance onward, we would have all been real little.
And as a little kid, you don't really know what's going on. And for some reason, my dad was trying to explain to me what was going on in Persian. And my dad always thinks I know Persian a lot better than I actually do, so I wasn't really understanding what he was saying.
And he did some manipulation, trying to get it on and off the sandbar, back and forth, and that wasn't going to work.
And so then Captain Bob gets on his radio that obviously he had never used for a long time and didn't realize that it really didn't work because he couldn't seem to raise anybody or get any kind of a signal.
And calls some friends of his, and they come out in one of those little tiny fishing boats with a motor on the back of it. They had no lights, nothing, and you couldn't see anything. It was dark and foggy everywhere.
We see something coming down the river, and here are a couple of men in a small boat, fishing boat, and the guy in front had his flashlight out, shining it on the water because it was kind of foggy. And that was our rescue boat. It probably hold 4 people.
And so we thought, oh, you know, there'll be a nice big boat coming with light on. And what showed up was this little dinghy with a little motor, a little fishing boat.
Jake Fryer begins crying. No, Jake Fryer began screaming at the top of his lungs. Screaming and screaming and screaming. Said, we know which woman and which child is going to go first.
Maddie was just hysterical because her dad was still on the boat. She was pretty sure that he was going down with the ship.
And I was convinced that he was going to die on that boat because they put us all on the little lifeboat, all, you know, the moms and the kids. And I remember just freaking out that we were leaving him behind. And that was like I literally was like, I'm never going to see him again. Like, I was terrified. Like, I remember that very vividly.
When we got the small children into the boats, they had to put life jackets on them. But like the Titanic, there wasn't enough life jackets to go around.
I think the little boat ride was scarier than being stuck on the sandbar.
After everybody got rescued with the little fishing boat that also didn't have anything that worked right on it.
My mom was singing the Gilligan's Island song, from what I hear, with Uncle Dave.
And we sang the whole thing. We all joined in and we're singing the Gilligan's Island theme song. So we tend to make the best out of everything, and nobody even thought about, you know, suing Captain Bob or any of the kinds of things that some people might do.
I think it was sinking, yeah, because there was water in the back. Because I was in the back, and there was like water like that, you know, deep in the back, and it was like kind of coming up.
From what I remember, water started coming in.
Some people say it sunk, and I don't know. I don't think that was the case. I didn't think Lake Taneycomo was deep enough for it to sink all the way.
Well, I think there was leaking fuel too, also, so it also polluted that river for a long time. So, yeah, I think that like the trout fishery business was in danger slightly too, so that may have had something to do with him getting kicked out of the area.
He is so full of crap.
I look over the edge of the boat, and we were probably, you know, this might be dangerous because we were probably 4 or 5 feet from the shore, and it looked like it was probably 3 feet deep. So there was a great danger. We had to have the life jackets on.
It was only like maybe knee deep at the most. They could have just walked.
Walked on water?
Walked on the water, just like Jesus did.
When I hear more stories about it, it was like we hit a sandbar, so couldn't everyone just kind of step out and stand on the sandbar? Like, was it really that big of a deal?
You know, the next morning when the fog had cleared, seeing that boat on that sandbar with the big Captain Bob's Queen of the Lake Taneycomo painted on the side or whatever he had, that, you know, everybody, yeah, that was Captain Bob's vessel. He's the one.
The next year we made T-shirts with Captain Bob on it, and you know, in a caricature. So we ended up. It's one of a chapter of our folklore that will be passed down generation to generation, I'm sure. But I don't think we'll ever take another boat ride down the river again.
Even to this day, like, I'm not big on boats. Like, they still make me a little nervous.
And the story goes that he, when he couldn't get the daggum boat off of there, and his insurance company would not pay to get his boat off of there because, you know, they thought, well, you're so stupid to go down to Lily's Landing, you know.
I think it became memorable because I think that was the last time Captain Bob was able to survive in his business mode. You know, I think we took his business down with that.
I don't know whatever happened to him.
Well, I guess he lost his license to practice boating on the river, you know, in the state because he didn't really have a birth certificate from the state of Missouri, so he had to leave the state or something.
He actually ended up in an institution. Yeah, in an institution. So, but I hear that he likes tapioca. So I think he's going to be all right.